Hello everybody, welcome to the Clearview channel. We're on segment 4 of our 6-part series on motivational interviewing. Today's topic, the stages of change. So important. I actually find a lot of power in understanding the stages of change, and I'm excited to have Steph Ray, our licensed clinical social worker, walk us through the stages of change so we can understand how and where motivational interviewing can have its biggest impact. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, so the stages of change is a model of what an individual goes through as they are thinking about change, planning for change, and actually in the act of changing. And it's important to understand the stages of change because motivational interviewing goes hand in hand very well in the stages of change.
Yeah, having listened to the spirit of motivational interviewing and the principles, I can see how it can make a real impact in getting them over that first big hurdle, which is pre-contemplative.
Yes.
What does pre-contemplative mean?
So pre-contemplative means a person is very unaware that there's an issue, and because they are unaware of an issue, they are very resistant or not even thinking about change.
Yeah, I think about a couple examples that I've heard in the past where a teenager will say, I wasn't that high during my test. What's the big deal? I wasn't swerving when I was drunk when I was driving. Stuff like that, because they don't realize they have a problem. If you don't realize you have a problem, how do you move from pre-contemplative to contemplative, which is the second stage of change? What does contemplative mean? It
means the individual or the student is starting to kind of think about, well, maybe that was an issue. So whereas before in pre-contemplation, they're saying there was no issue, this is my mom and dad's fault, everything was perfect before, and when they shift into contemplation, it is now, well, you know, maybe I was being disrespectful, or maybe I was smoking a little bit too much weed, or going out, or, you know, they're just starting to maybe think about that there's an issue, but they're not thinking about change yet.
Right, like, you know, maybe there is something about me running away from home and not calling my mom and dad for a week that maybe I gotta take a peek at. That's contemplative. What's the third stage of change?
Is preparation and or planning.
Preparation and planning. Okay, what does that mean?
So that is where the individual has moved from, well, maybe there's a problem, but I'm not really ready for change, or I'm not really ready, or I don't know what to do about it, into, okay, I do have a problem and I do need to do something about this. I'm not sure what to do, I'm not sure how, but I do know that there's something that needs to be done.
Right, so not only do I know I've got something I need to take a peek at, I actually want to take a peek at it. So I'm doing some research on, and I'm looking into ways that I can impact this problem. That's preparation and planning. What's the next stage?
So the next stage is action. And
action.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's actually taking action into changing the situation or the attitude or mentality or whatever it is that you're looking to change.
So if I typically have an emotional outburst when I'm dealing with authority. And like I'll run away, or I'll yell or scream, or maybe I'll get physical. Now I'm going to use my coping mechanisms. I'm going to take action in this problem, and maybe I will walk away from the situation. I will use other techniques that I've been trained with my therapist. That's action. What's the last stage of change?
So it depends on what model you look at. There's actually 2 more stages of change. The last one, or second to last one, is maintenance. And so it's, okay, I am taking care of myself. I am continuing to practice these coping skills. It's just consistency,
right,
is the best way to describe it.
So maintenance is really measuring your results. So I recognize I've got an issue. I did some research. I took action. How's it working out for me? Okay.
Yeah, and what do I need to do to continue to take the correct actions?
Okay, and what is the final stage of change?
Yep, so again, it depends on what model you're looking at, but it could be termination, so that would look more in a clinical setting with client therapist, or it could also be relapse. And it's important to acknowledge that relapse is it is a stage of change, because we could go through maintenance and then have a relapse, whether it is we use a substance or
Right.
we have an outburst. And there's two types of relapses. There's a spiral down relapse where it feels like you're going backwards, or there's a spiral up and you're learning from it and you're doing something different.
Relapse has a real negative connotation, but I think it's important that our parents and our staff members understand relapse actually is part of the growth process. It's part of the growth model. We are in a perpetual cycling through of this change process
Yes.
over time. Like there isn't just I make a change and it's there forever. Like that's highly improbable. Doesn't happen that often. But this change process has relapse at the end of it because we continue to grow and get better.
Exactly. And a lot of times too, let's say relapse is drinking.
Yeah.
A spiral down would be the conversation inside the individual's head would be, oh my gosh, like, of course this happened. I'm incapable of change. I can't do this. Like, what's the point? And that is exactly what either that is exactly the internal dialogue of contemplation.
Right.
So you see how, because of relapse, you go back into contemplation, and then you have to build your confidence. Again, one of the principles of MI, build your confidence of, okay, actually I can. I've done it before. What are my steps? So going back to that planning and then taking the action and coming back to maintenance. And it's important too to observe what each relapse looks like.
Right.
Because although it feels like you're in the same spot, your relapse may look different, whether it's less frequency, less intensity. You're able to talk to yourself different. And that is a measurable step of growth and change.
100%. Let me give you a relevant example. We had a recent graduate who has a very difficult relationship with her father. And she was at Clearview for many reasons, but one of it was that relationship. So she returns to the very same house, to the very same environment that she left in. She's a graduate at Clearview, and she walked herself right into the same sort of confrontation with her dad. This is relapse. Here's the difference, and here's what matters. Afterwards, in contemplation and in preparation, she said, that's not who I am. That's the difference. And I think that's a great example.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Stages of change, really important in motivational interviewing. Stay tuned for our next episode, part 5 of our 6-part series on the basic process of motivational interviewing. At the end of that episode, you're going to be able to take motivational interviewing out for a spin and see the immediate results. Stay tuned.